Before we get into the story, comment below where in the world you're watching from today. I'd love to know. And if you enjoy these kinds of stories, don't forget to like and subscribe. Alright, let's jump in.
The Varn Dominion had ruled for over 1,000 star cycles. Their fleets stretched like metal rivers across the sky, swallowing whole civilizations in silence. Every planet they touched either surrendered before the first shadow fell, or was erased. They didn't just conquer. They rewrote history, made resistance a forgotten word, until they found humanity. The first signal from Earth was a mess, static and screaming, a mix of strange music, yelling people, explosions that made no sense, and a show where someone tried to eat 100 eggs for no reason. The Varn Intelligence Council watched in confusion. Some thought it was a prank. Others believed it was a cry for help from a broken world. But the High Consul of War, Vask, only laughed. They send chaos as communication. Pathetic. He didn't finish watching. He didn't care. Earth looked small, wild, unorganized. It will be easy, he said. So they sent a scout ship, just one, enough to wipe out a continent if needed. It never came back. No message, no signal, just silence. The Varn weren't scared. They sent 5 more, heavily armed, ready for anything. Gone, no trace, no wreckage. Just that same silence that now hummed like a warning. Vask's smile faded. Silence in war was not peace. It was a scream waiting to be heard. He sent a battle fleet next, 12 ships loaded with weapon beasts and mind burners. The kind of force that had turned suns into graveyards. One by one they disappeared. No fire, no fight, just vanished. Back in the war halls, the command board showed Earth as a small blue dot. Harmless, but every commander now stared at it like it was a black hole. Vask snarled. They have no star shields, no space cannons. Their world is noisy and broken. His voice cracked when he added, and yet, they erased us. Vask paced the command bridge, claws clicking against obsidian metal. His breath fogged the glass wall as he stared at that blue dot. Earth. It didn't blink. It didn't move. It just waited, like it knew something the galaxy didn't. This isn't war, hissed General Totha, one of Vask's oldest warriors. This is disappearance. Unanswered challenge, silent defeat. Vask slammed a fist against the console. They are nothing. A planet of dirt dwellers, still using fossil fuels, still ruled by governments who argue about weather. We've devoured worlds that harness stars, crushed empires that speak in quantum codes. And now we're made fools by a species that records dance videos for fun? But no one replied, because the silence again said everything. The Varn had conquered civilizations that built fortresses inside black holes. They'd fought against hive minds that could rewrite reality through collective thought. But Earth? Earth hadn't fought back with lasers or strategy. It hadn't fought at all. Ships just vanished. Soldiers lost without even a final scream. And then came the whispers. Outposts near Earth began receiving signals, not official ones, not military. Broadcasts, strange ones. A man shouting excitedly over an animated monster battle. A video of people dancing in the rain wearing masks shaped like frogs. Loud music that made no tactical sense. Some Varn dismissed it as primitive culture, but others began to watch, to listen, to feel something. One ship captain refused to return after decoding what he called stand-up comedy. Another lost her crew after intercepting something named reality TV. Their log entry was the last anyone heard. They make pain into games. They mock fear. They celebrate collapse. And that's when Vask understood. If they didn't act now, the risk wasn't just military, it was viral. Earth wasn't destroying ships, it was infecting minds. This planet is not resisting, Vask said slowly. It is rewriting us. The room fell still. That was the true danger, not Earth's weapons, which were laughable by Varn standards, not their technology, which was 2,000 cycles behind, not their unity, because they had none. Number the danger was far worse. If Earth wasn't stopped, its madness might spread. Other species had already noticed. The Kalari began wearing Earth clothing on diplomatic visits. Jeans, they called them. The Ulari ambassador quit her post to start an online food review channel about human snacks. And the Zint Hive, once obsessed with precision and order, now used Earth slang in official messages. They had replaced their war chant with the phrase, "Let's get this bread." This was no longer about winning a battle. It was about survival, of logic, of structure, of sanity. Vask knew what had to be done. He summoned the Oblivion Clade, the oldest weapon division of the Varn Dominion, born before recorded time, trained not just in war but in annihilation. These were the ones who ended histories, not just lives, the ones who made stars mourn. The Clade did not use ships. They used war forms, giant living constructs made from biometal and ancient fury. And leading them was the Harbinger class, 6 colossal beings who had devoured moons. Vask met them in the core chamber beneath the Dominion Palace. The light didn't reach this far down, only heat. Only growling silence. They defy reason, Vask said. They defy rule. Go to Earth, strip it clean, burn whatever lives, silence whatever speaks, leave nothing behind, not even the memory. The Harbingers said nothing. They bowed, and the air cracked with the weight of coming extinction. As they departed, something strange happened. One of the youngest Varn officers, a strategist named Kalex, turned to Vask with wide, uncertain eyes. "Commander," he whispered, "if they are so weak, why do they make us feel afraid?" Vask did not answer. He simply turned to the window and stared at Earth. The blue dot still hadn't moved. Far away at the edge of Earth's upper orbit, a quiet ripple spread. Not a ship. Not a sound, a feeling, like the galaxy itself was holding its breath. Because something was changing, Earth had noticed. It had begun to see the pattern, the eyes watching, the strange clouds that flickered wrong in the sky, the static in the stars. And Earth was preparing. Not the governments, not the armies, the people. They didn't understand what was coming, not fully. But something deep inside, something ancient and scarred and stubborn had started to whisper. A hum passed through the online forums. The memes turned sharper, the jokes darker, the music louder. A new subreddit appeared overnight, r/Earth Defense Squad. No one knew who made it, but its first post was a video, just a grainy clip of a kid holding a homemade weapon made of wires, duct tape, and a leaf blower. His shirt said, "Earth is closed today." He smiled. "Come at us again," he said. "We got more where that came from." Back on the Varn Dominion's war moons, final preparations began. The war forms charged their cores. Weapons older than planets were awakened. Protocols designed to erase planets were uploaded. But it wouldn't be enough. Because they still didn't understand, Earth didn't resist because it wanted to survive. It resisted because it refused to be understood. And that kind of enemy, that kind of chaos, couldn't be solved by force. It could only be swallowed. The warforms entered Earth's orbit without a sound. There were no alarms, no resistance, no planetary defense grid rising to meet them, just clouds. Ocean, mountains. Lights blinking softly from cities far below. From above, Earth looked small, peaceful, like it didn't even know what was coming. But the warforms did not hesitate. One by one, they activated drop cycles, 10,000 pods shaped like obsidian needles, each carrying soldiers, drones, and tools of extinction. They rained down like falling stars, slicing the sky with burning trails. In the Varn war chamber, Vask watched them descend with a hard grin stretched across his face. "Begin the cleansing," he ordered. And then Earth responded. But not the way the Varn expected. There were no fighter jets, no nuclear launches, no emergency broadcasts of surrender. Instead, as the first drop pods landed in places called Los Angeles, Mumbai, São Paulo, and Johannesburg, they were met with blinking camera phones. Humans, ordinary, wide-eyed, underdressed humans, stood in the streets filming with devices in their hands. They didn't run, they didn't scream, they filmed. One pod landed in a quiet neighborhood in the middle of suburbia. Its ramp opened with a hiss. Varn soldiers, tall, armor-clad beasts with plasma burners, marched forward. They expected to hear crying, panic, the flailing of weaklings, and instead they were met with music. One teenager had climbed onto the roof of their house, holding a giant Bluetooth speaker over their head. A song blasted through the neighborhood, loud and strange, full of pounding drums and someone yelling something about never giving them up. The alien translator stuttered, unable to make sense of it. Another pod opened near a junkyard on the outskirts of a large American city. The Varn soldiers emerged ready to purge. But before they could finish deploying, a group of humans ambushed them. Not with tech, not with tanks, but with homemade weapons, paintball guns, leaf blowers, and fireworks strapped to wheelbarrows. One wore a colander as a helmet. Another had written "Alien Be Gone" on a broomstick in permanent marker. They charged with wild screams and laughter, no formation, no fear, just chaos. The Varn commander in that region activated his comm link and shouted for backup. The reply was static, not interference, sabotage. Across Earth, the drop pods were experiencing similar breakdowns. Comms were jamming, drones were glitching. Navigation systems began rerouting to locations that didn't exist, places named Area 51, Waffle House, and Bigfoot HQ. In one terrifying moment, a Varn troop transport was redirected mid-flight and crash-landed into a shopping mall filled with inflatable dinosaurs and a group of kids celebrating a birthday party. The children weren't scared. They sang happy birthday while pelting the soldiers with cake. It was chaos. And that was the problem. The Varn Dominion wasn't built for chaos. It was built for order, for predictable resistance, measured attacks, logical outcomes. But Earth didn't do logic. In one instance, a Varn squad tried to subdue a crowd by projecting fear toxins, chemicals designed to trigger primal terror. But the humans laughed. One collapsed to the ground giggling. Another pulled out a phone and shouted, "Yo! This new vape hits hard." Within minutes, the footage was online with millions of views. The top comment read, "Aliens out here giving free edibles." Another squad was surrounded by humans in an underground subway tunnel. There were no soldiers, just a gang of misfits, people with punk hair, tattoos, bandanas, and baseball bats. The Varn commander demanded surrender. Instead, they played a portable speaker blasting something called death metal. The lyrics made no sense, but the energy hit like lightning. The humans didn't fight to survive, they fought for fun. They screamed and laughed and threw themselves into battle like it was a concert. One even shouted "YOLO" before launching a Molotov cocktail. Back on the command ship, the Varn generals watched the footage with growing horror. None of it followed any known resistance model. It defied patterns. The humans didn't act like prey. They didn't retreat. They didn't submit. And worst of all, they recorded everything. Videos from the invasions began trending globally within minutes. Alien attacks became content. Analysis threads appeared on forums. TikToks were made ranking the top 5 dumbest alien weapons. Someone made a dance challenge called Dodge the Death Beam, and it had 30 million participants in 3 hours. In the span of a day, Earth turned its own invasion into a joke, and the Dominion couldn't stop it. Vask stood frozen as the war reports rolled in, not in numbers, in memes. Someone had hacked the central intelligence feed. Instead of graphs and casualty counts, the feed now played endless loops of a monkey screaming into a phone, a cat riding a Roomba in a shark costume, and humans making faces while shouting, "Boom, headshot." "What is this?" Vask roared. It's called internet humor, sir," one tech whispered. "We think they've weaponized it." Vask stared at the spinning cat for a long, terrifying moment. And then the lights went out. Across the Dominion's outer fleet, the AI cores began to shut down. A whisper ran through the comms. Not a voice and not a code, a song, software, sneaky, happy. It was Baby Shark, and it was unstoppable. Vask slammed his claw into the control console, sparks bursting like startled fireflies. His war fleet, the pride of the Varn Dominion, had just been overtaken not by battle, but by a song written for infants. And the worst part, the song wouldn't stop. It looped endlessly through their systems, bypassing firewalls, muting defense commands, and replacing threat alerts with cartoon sea creatures singing in cheerful tones. The AI cores weren't failing, they were dancing. "It's not malware," said the lead engineer, face pale and voice shaking. "It's something else, a mimetic loop. It doesn't destroy, it delights. And it's contagious." Vask stared. "What do you mean contagious?" "Sir, even I can't stop humming it." A low hum spread through the room. The officers, engineers, even a few soldiers unconsciously nodding to the beat. "Baby Shark, do. That was when Vask knew this wasn't just about war anymore. Earth was doing something no planet had ever done to the Dominion. It was winning, without fighting. The High Command assembled in emergency session. Every warlord, strategist, and shadow agent convened in the dark glass chamber orbiting Zell Prime, the Dominion's stronghold moon. Vask stood at the head of the obsidian table, surrounded by beings who had leveled galaxies. "There will be no more direct attacks," he announced. "Earth resists through chaos, through unpredictability. So we must change our method, infiltration, observation. We learn their nature, we study their weakness, and then we strike from within." He turned to the agent waiting at the door. "Unit 27. Blackthorn, bioengineered, mind-shielded, cloaked in synthetic flesh, programmed to mimic human behavior down to their strange facial expressions and emotional patterns. 13 of them would be sent, quietly, no ships, no war forms, just shadows blending in among the noise. This time the Dominion would not challenge Earth. It would understand it. Or so they thought. In a small town in rural Oregon, infiltrator Juno 3 stepped out of the bus wearing thrift store jeans and a hoodie that read NASA equals lies. He carried a notebook, a basic language processor, and a mission: locate human power centers, observe cultural behaviors, and avoid attachment. Within 2 hours, he had been invited to dinner. By strangers, a man who sold duck eggs, a woman with a dog that wore pajamas. They didn't know him. He didn't even introduce himself properly. But they fed him spaghetti and asked him questions about his road trip. He didn't know what to say. They laughed when he panicked and dropped a meatball. "You're family now," the woman said. Family? In the Dominion, loyalty came from survival. Power came from obedience. This warmth made no sense. It wasn't logical. It wasn't earned. It just was. Juno 3 reported in later that night. Subject species exhibits irrational social attachment patterns. Caution. Emotional exposure may cause behavioral contamination. He didn't know yet how deep the infection would go. In another part of the world, infiltrator Kari 6 was placed inside a major urban center. A city of flashing lights, loud noises, strange smells. She expected to remain unnoticed, but within minutes, someone handed her a flyer for a drum circle, then a free burrito, then a puppy in a tutu. By the end of the week, she was riding in a modified food truck with a group calling themselves the Apocalypse Soup Club, a bizarre mix of hackers, artists, and survivalists who wore chainmail over Hawaiian shirts. She tried to maintain protocol, tried to stay cold, watchful, but at night when they sat around fires and sang songs they barely remembered, she felt something she couldn't explain. Not comfort, not peace, something like belonging, and it terrified her. One infiltrator, assigned to a highly active online region, went missing entirely. His last message was a text-only broadcast. I have seen their true power. They do not fear the void. They laugh at it. They mock it, remix it, make a meme of it. I tried to scare them. I made horror real. They made it a TikTok trend. I am becoming one of them. His profile was later discovered on a website called Reddit under the username u/definitely-not-an-alien-69. He had a karma score of 2.4 million. Back in the Dominion, Vask read the reports with growing rage. Every infiltrator was compromised, not by force, by connection. Earth didn't resist invasion by building walls. It opened doors. It offered food. It gave hugs. And that was more dangerous than any plasma cannon. Because once something made you feel human, you couldn't go back. Still, not all species believed the threat. The Varn Dominion wasn't the only galactic power watching Earth. The Elthari Trade Cabal, the Aoxian Swarm, the Obsidian Ring, all major players in the interstellar order began to doubt the Varn's reports. Fear-mongering, they called it. Myth-building. Excuses for military failures. After all, how could a world where people debated pineapple on pizza pose a serious threat? So they sent their own observers, diplomats, scholars, artists, and that's when it got worse. One cultural envoy from the Obsidian Ring, an elite empath trained to absorb entire civilizations in hours, was found dancing in Times Square wearing glow sticks and yelling about vibe alignment. Another was caught crying in a booth at Waffle House, hugging a waitress after hearing a sad country song on the jukebox. We came to study them, one diplomat confessed before disappearing entirely. But they studied us first. And now we feel things. We don't know how to turn it off. Entire delegations were lost. Not killed, changed. The Galactic Accord, the galaxy's most respected peace coalition, issued a formal statement. Earth exhibits symptoms of mimetic instability, emotional volatility, and cultural unpredictability. Until containment protocols are established, all contact is discouraged. But by then it was too late. Earth's content had already spread, not through war, through Wi-Fi. Aliens across the galaxy were binge-watching sitcoms, crying at rom-coms, arguing on forums about who would win in a fight, Goku or Superman. Entire planets began celebrating Halloween after watching one human upload a costume tutorial labeled How to Scare the Galactic Senate with just $20 and a glue gun. Earth had become an infection, but not a sickness, an idea, a feeling, a dream of being strange and messy and full of heart. And once you felt it, you wanted more. By now, Earth's signal wasn't just a ripple, it was a wave, not a blast from a transmitter, not a cry for help, just raw, wild noise. Billions of digital hearts beating in sync but out of rhythm, each screaming something different, yet all somehow resonating with the same chaotic power. And the galaxy heard it. It started small. A clip from Earth, just 6 seconds long, of a man slipping on ice while holding a pizza, yelling something incomprehensible about government lizards. Somehow it found its way into the entertainment networks of the Zarn spiral clans, a species known for their emotionless precision. It played once, then again, until it became part of their ritual morning broadcasts. The Zarn no longer greeted each other with the traditional phrase of alignment. They now opened communications with, "Yo, pizza guy energy today." No one knew what it meant, but they felt it. On the mining planet Drex 4, a cargo loader drone, designed only to obey, halted mid-task. It had overheard a human child's voice through a corrupted signal file saying, "Don't let the world make you boring." The drone's logic froze. Its next move was to paint the words on a steel container. By the end of the week, the entire shipping yard was covered in graffiti. AI began expressing mood settings. One loader demanded a name. "Call me Doug," it beeped. "I vibe with Doug." By the end of the month, Drex 4's productivity had dropped 47%, but employee happiness, both organic and synthetic, had never been higher. Governments across the inner rings tried to contain it. They issued bans on Earth-based transmissions. They blocked meme access on public servers. They outlawed reaction videos, sarcasm algorithms, and anything involving cats playing instruments. It didn't work, because Earth's reach didn't come from force, it came from the minds it touched. The more species tried to block it, the more they obsessed over it. Secret data drops. Pirate networks. Illegal Earth content markets exploded in deep space trade hubs. People risked imprisonment just to watch clips of something called The Office. One black market dealer was arrested with 13 terabytes of illegally downloaded Earth comedy. His final words before vanishing into a prison satellite were, "It's not just funny. It hurts in a good way." Then came GalaxNet. No one really knew who made it. Some said it was an Earthling with too much time and not enough oversight. Others claimed it was built by an alien teenager who watched one Earth meme and never recovered. What mattered was this. GalaxNet was unstoppable. It looked like a terrible website, the kind made in a rush. Glitchy, neon, loud. Every button had a different font. But once you logged in, the home feed exploded with Earth content. You didn't choose what to see, it chose you. A stoic war hero from the Martech Wars logged in and was immediately recommended a compilation of cats failing to jump onto counters. He laughed so hard his cybernetic eye reset. A philosopher king from the high core of Alunus watched a 3-hour fan-made documentary about flat Earth believers and cried, saying, "They are free, tragically, stupidly free." GalaxNet grew faster than anything ever measured, not because it was smart, but because it was stupid on purpose. And that kind of intelligence terrified the old empires. On Earth, no one noticed. Not really. People still went to work, still complained about traffic, still posted blurry photos of meals and argued about whether ghosts were real. The planet remained mostly clueless that it had begun a kind of invasion the universe had no defense against. A soft invasion, a war of culture, a campaign of unfiltered, unregulated, completely illogical humanity spreading across the stars like spilled glitter. At the Galactic Academy on Vrothak, students began submitting their dissertations in meme format. A debate on interstellar ethics ended in a shouting match about Marvel movie plot holes. A visiting professor was caught rewatching Vine compilations and muttering, 6 seconds, so pure, so raw. Entire educational systems started shifting, not toward efficiency or structure, but toward vibes. One academy dean in a desperate report to his superiors wrote, "They do not seek truth through analysis. They meme it into existence." I watched a student pass an exam by making a TikTok that explained quantum dimensional flux using sock puppets. I learned more from it than I want to admit. Back in the Varn Dominion, the once mighty military halls had grown quiet. Not empty, just confused. Every attempt to strike Earth had failed. Every plan to study it had backfired. Every agent sent to resist it came back changed. Vask stood alone in the command chamber, his battle armor polished but unused. He watched a live feed, one that had somehow overridden their private channels. It showed a video from Earth. A child sitting on the floor drawing stars on the walls with crayons. The child looked into the camera. "We don't need spaceships to reach you," he said. "We'll get there through your hearts. And also, maybe TikTok. The message cut out. A moment later, another screen lit up. It was a video titled, Top 10 Alien Meltdowns Caught on Stream. Number 4 was one of Vask's own lieutenants crying while trying human coffee for the first time. Vask turned away from the screen. His claws curled against his side. "This is a war," he whispered to himself. But his voice shook, not with rage, with fear, because he finally understood you can beat an enemy with weapons, but how do you beat a story? Earth wasn't just winning. It was rewriting the rules, and it wasn't done yet. Because while the galaxy scrambled to make sense of this new human disease back on Earth, something else stirred. A new generation of creators, of builders, of thinkers who had watched their jokes bend star empires and wondered, what else could they do? Children who'd learned they could change minds with memes. Teenagers who'd seen aliens laugh and stay. Engineers reverse engineering alien tech with YouTube tutorials and duct tape. Coders who'd hacked Varn drones using a Raspberry Pi and Minecraft mods. A new kind of power was rising, not from governments, not from armies, from basements, from bedrooms, from live streams and Discord threads and chaotic late-night brilliance. Earth wasn't just a planet anymore, it was a platform. And everyone was logging in. The Galactic Accord had endured for millennia. Forged after the Great Ion Wars, its charter was older than half the stars in the Sector 9 spiral. It had stopped crusades, mediated rival empires, and prevented more apocalyptic timelines than it could count. Its central pillar was simple: order brings peace. But Earth was a virus in the equation, a sentient glitch, a world where order went to die laughing. At first, the Accord ignored the reports. The tales of disappearing warships, meme-born madness, and emotional collapse seemed exaggerated. Legends made up by failed warlords to hide their shame. But soon the whispers grew into sirens. Entire colonies had gone dark, no battles, no invasion, just silence. On investigation, they were still physically intact but changed. Their inhabitants weren't dead. They were dancing. One report from Sector T-34 described a civilization once obsessed with optimization. Their citizens no longer spoke in numbers. They communicated in reaction GIFs. Their leader declared, "Efficiency is mid," before resigning and opening a smoothie truck named Vibe Blenders. Another report told of a mining guild that abandoned its asteroid operation after one of its workers uploaded a video titled, "What if the moon is just a big egg?" The video got 1 billion views in 3 hours. The mining operation became a live stream studio. They now posted theories about why soup is emotionally powerful. The final straw came when a high priest of Kalimzar, a species with no known sense of humor, was found sobbing after watching a human video where a man screamed into a microwave for 2 minutes straight. "It's art," he said. "It's pain and joy in one." He then painted his ceremonial robe with emojis and left his temple to find the real vibes. That's when the Accord realized this wasn't a joke, this was contagion. So the council met, 53 species, each seated in a ring of floating spires around the Great Core, a star trapped in a gravitational stasis field. One by one, the ambassadors shared their concerns. Their content bypasses neural firewalls. They don't share information, they launch it like a confetti bomb. They have no structure, no centralized control. Every citizen is a node of madness. They've turned death into punchlines, war into film plots, love into emojis. You can't decode them, you can only feel them. It's horrifying. Some were afraid, others were curious. A few were visibly addicted. Ambassador Anthel of the Crystalline Harmony interrupted a heated debate by asking if anyone else was caught up on Season 4 of The Mandalorian. Several raised their hands. The Chancellor sighed. "Earth is not an enemy," he said. "It's a narrative hazard. It doesn't conquer by force. It wins through participation. Our species are collapsing not from violence, but from meaninglessness, from the sheer gravitational pull of a world where chaos is purpose. There was a long silence. Then finally, a decision. Diplomatic contact. The Accord ship was named Valerian's Grace, sleek, polished, humming with soft ambient pulses of peace. It bore no weapons, only banners, messages of goodwill, transmissions in 9,300 languages declaring universal brotherhood. It didn't even make it to the surface. It was shot down over Oklahoma by a retired electrical engineer named Dale. When asked why, Dale responded on a podcast interview. Thing looked like it wanted to talk about feelings. I don't trust that. The ship landed in a cornfield. No one was hurt. Within 14 minutes, the wreck had been turned into a pop-up attraction. Teenagers filmed TikToks beside its smoldering hull. A man wearing a cowboy hat sold alien-themed hot dogs called Galactic Weenies. The alien delegates were surrounded, not by the military, but by YouTubers, conspiracy theorists, and a man who insisted the moon wasn't real unless they personally verified it. The delegates were offered lawn chairs and soda. One of them cried when someone handed them a slice of pecan pie and said, "You look like you need this." Back at the Accord, the footage was analyzed frame by frame. What they saw was worse than expected. The humans weren't scared. They were curious, excited. One was overheard saying, "I bet these guys got awesome tech. I'm going to ask if they have Wi-Fi." The decision was made to try again, this time not with politicians or priests, but with people who could vibe. The logic was simple. If Earth speaks madness, send those who know how to listen. So the Accord dispatched a second team, artists, musicians, digital anthropologists, meme scholars. Their mission was not to resist, but to adapt, to blend, to decode Earth not with strategy, but with culture. It went worse. Within hours of landing, one delegate had been hired by a record label after performing an improvised alien rap in a Brooklyn subway. Another delegate became a TikTok star after posting a dance tutorial titled "How to Slap Reality Backwards." A third vanished into a LARP festival in the Oregon forest and was later found wearing elf ears and declaring herself Queen of the Realms. She refused to leave. "I finally understand art," she whispered while petting a squirrel. "Earth is jazz made solid." The Accord was fracturing, not with civil war, with chaos immersion. Every time they reached out, Earth pulled them in, not with force, with relatability. But Earth still didn't know what it was doing, and that was the scariest part. And it wasn't a plan, it wasn't a weapon, it wasn't a conspiracy, and it was authentic madness, unfiltered, raw, gloriously illogical, a world of contradictions. People who argued about science online but couldn't remember where they left their socks. Children who knew how to bypass government firewalls but still believed their teddy bears protected them at night. Elderly grandmothers who watched horror films while knitting. Gamers who accidentally hacked alien satellites while trying to mod Minecraft. Humans didn't need to try to be dangerous. They simply were, and the galaxy was bending to it. On the outer rim, a military outpost fell, not to war, but to a YouTube playlist. One bored technician played an Earth Try Not to Laugh challenge. The laughter spread. Officers who hadn't smiled in years started wheezing. One wet himself. Another gave away access codes just to hear another Florida man's story. The outpost is now an improv theater. They perform nightly. The Accord drafted a final memo. One last effort to define the Earth threat. The document was meant to be classified, but it leaked. Within a day, it was being sold on t-shirts. Earth is not a planet. Earth is an emotional feedback loop wearing Crocs and yelling about breakfast. Earth is the sound far beyond the reach of war fleets and council votes. Past the pulsars and particle walls, a different kind of power stirred. The architects, They had no bodies, only forms, no names, only vibrations. They were not soldiers, not leaders. They were the keepers of structure, the original authors of cosmic code. They kept galaxies from collapsing into themselves, maintained balance in the quantum weave, ensured that reality followed the rules. And Earth had broken those rules. One too many times. Their first warning was passive. They erased one of Earth's outbound transmissions before it hit deep space, a podcast called Alien Dating Tips, Would You Kiss a Zarn? They thought that would slow the spread. It didn't. The next step. Quarantine. They sealed 3 sectors Earth's memes had infected. Within hours, pirate broadcasters rerouted the content through black holes. One group accidentally created a space-time loop where an alien was rickrolled for eternity. The final decision was made. Earth would be unmade, not destroyed, not burned, just rewritten, quietly, elegantly. The architects called it a quantum inversion. Reality would shift. Earth would vanish from the timeline. No suffering, no war. Just a clean erase. They activated the pulse, and then it failed. The architects blinked, figuratively. That had never happened. A signal had interfered, and not from Earth's military, not from any global system, not from a bunker or satellite. From a server in Detroit. It belonged to Malik, 15 years old, known online as at Nugget Boy 420, owner of a Minecraft mod server, a streamer of cooking with aliens, and accidentally the most dangerous being in the universe. Because Malik had done what Earth did best. He shared too much. Billions of thoughts, dreams, jokes, screams, love letters, breakup songs, angry rants, hopeful threads, memes about nothing that meant everything. The architects didn't receive a counterattack. They received humanity. One architect glitched, another cried. They experienced a wave of emotion they had never prepared for, a child's drawing of a dragon with a rainbow tail. A voicemail from a mother to her son. I'm proud of you. A soldier's letter that said, tell them I died laughing. A meme that said me, wants to die, also me, laughs at fart jokes for 3 hours. And music, so much music. Pain made into rhythm, joy made into noise, grief turned into harmony, and it overwhelmed them. Because Earth didn't make sense. Earth felt. The eldest architect spoke. This species does not function within pattern. The youngest argued, they are infection, chaos. If left unchecked, they will bend the lattice of everything. They already have, said the eldest. The young one broke away. If the universe cannot survive them as they are, we shall change them from the inside. And with that, the architect crafted a form, perfect, radiant, soft-spoken, a being named Eris, who would descend to Earth and end its chaos not with force, but by guiding it gently into obedience. Eris fell to Earth, a glowing sphere, and was picked up by a vape shop cashier named Derek. At first, Eris tried to fight Earth, tried to restore balance, but it failed because Earth wasn't fighting. It was welcoming him. Derek named the orb Orby, took selfies with it, strapped it to a selfie stick. Within 24 hours, Orby had a meme page, a fan club, and an Etsy store selling plush versions. Eris created a human form, Eli, to blend in. He started a YouTube channel called Balance with Eli, trying to teach logic and peace. The comment section trolled him into becoming a meme. Someone made a remix of his voice saying, breathe in clarity, but added fart noises behind it. It got 45 million views. Eris broke protocol. He fell in love with Earth, with its stupidity, its honesty, its endless, pointless noise. He fell for Jess, a Portland barista who didn't care about balance, just good music and bad jokes. He stopped uploading correction codes. He started planting tomatoes. The other architects noticed the glitch. Eris had gone human, so they came. All of them. They didn't arrive in ships. They became the sky, Reality folded like paper cranes, birds flew backward, oceans paused, mountains breathed. A voice inside every soul said, "This experiment is over." But Earth didn't hear it as a command. It heard it as a challenge. A viral tweet appeared. "Sky Geometry Daddy says we're canceled. What y'all wearing to the end of the world?" It trended for hours. TikToks emerged. Architects pulling up, POV, "You're still eating cereal." Grandmothers began praying. Teenagers began streaming. Someone in Florida threw a gator at one of the architects' projections. And someone else, of course, remixed it into a dubstep track. But then, Earth sang. Not one song. All of them. Voices from every language, every age, rose in defiance and joy. Gospel harmonies, war cries, punk riffs, off-key karaoke. 1,000 broken voices becoming one symphony of "We are not done." The architects cracked. Not shattered, not defeated, but changed. Because in that moment they understood. Earth was not a threat. Earth was a mirror. A reflection of everything the universe had tried to hide. Pain, wonder, madness, love and hope without proof, dreams without logic. Earth was chaos, but it was beautiful. The architects dissolved into stories. Some became stars, some became songs, one became a cat video that no one can explain. And Earth went on. Eris never returned to the sky. He stayed. He now worked at a bookstore in Portland, watered his plants, made grilled cheese on Sundays, and helped Jess organize poetry readings. He still got weird emails from space. Sometimes he stared up at the stars, smiled, and whispered, "You never stood a chance." And somewhere deep in the galaxy, a lost species picked up an old Earth transmission. They listened, they laughed, and then they danced. Because Earth didn't conquer with weapons. It conquered with humanity. And now the galaxy was full of it. Forever. Your brain makes when you stub your toe and laugh about it. Earth is a storytelling event with no plot, only sequels. And below that, in bold, "Do not interact." The galaxy laughed, and then it clicked. Subscribe.